Revenge films.
I was living with my husband David and our daughter, who was already in high school. My husband's brother Kevin got married later, and right now his oldest is 3 years old, and the youngest is about 6 months old. However, that younger baby has Down syndrome, and Kevin's wife, Karen, had become frantic about it. According to Kevin and Karen, apparently until the baby was born, they never could have imagined that he would be born with Down syndrome. For the record, my brother-in-law was 40 years old and his wife was 42. Everybody around them thought that they would be prepared for the worst because she was giving birth at that age. Because her friends and the others around her who'd given birth at that age were fine. Apparently, they didn't even think for a second that their child might be born with any kind of abnormality. Because I have never given birth to a child with Down syndrome, I only know how difficult it could be based on what I've heard from others. That's why I can't say much. But both Kevin and Karen are saying pretty awful things, which I didn't think was right either. Then one day, I had gone to the mall to do some shopping. I was walking around looking for all kinds of things in a giant mall when I caught a glimpse of someone that looked like it could be my sister-in-law. I didn't want to talk to her, so I ignored her, but something felt strange about it, so I turned back and looked for her. But then, even though she had a baby in her arms earlier, this time her hands were empty, so without thinking, I walked over to her. "Hey, I got a glimpse of you earlier, but what happened to your baby?" But then I couldn't believe the words that came out of her mouth next.
"Oh, that kid. We don't need it anymore, so I threw it away."
"Huh? What do you mean? Where?"
"Who knows? I forgot already. Because we don't need it. Plus, somebody probably took her away by now."
After she said that, my sister-in-law walked away. I tried to run after her immediately. But I was more worried about the baby actually getting taken by somebody. So I ran into the bathroom and looked in places where the baby might be left behind, and I found her left in the handicapped toilet. Oh, thank goodness. Really, thank goodness. With the baby in my hands, I panicked and called both Kevin and Karen, but neither of them would answer their phones. So I immediately called my husband and had him get in touch with his twin brother. When Kevin found out what happened, he panicked and rushed home, but nobody was there. And all that was left was divorce papers and a letter on the table.
"I can't look after the younger child, and for the sake of the older child's life, please divorce me. Please have your sister-in-law take care of the younger one. I don't need a child like that. It's not fit for me."
Apparently, that's what it said. I had my husband leave work early, and I also went back home to my place. My brother-in-law also came to our place, but he was going into a panic about the situation. My sister-in-law was quite a career woman. She was working at a very famous major company and was currently on maternity leave. Apparently, Karen's plot was to divorce her husband and work while only supporting the other child. It was so selfish that, of course, my husband and I were against it. After that, Kevin went to go look for his wife. We had the baby to take care of, and because we thought Karen might come back, we decided to wait at home. During that time, we also contacted David's parents. Apparently, Karen was wandering around town, and Kevin found her, and he brought her back. After that, my in-laws tried to talk to Kevin and Karen and convince them otherwise. But without even getting the divorce, Karen simply insisted that she doesn't need a child with Down syndrome, that it didn't match with her. And because that was all she said, it wasn't even a conversation. That being said, even if they left the baby with us, that would be too difficult too. But apparently both Kevin and Karen seemed like they were waiting for me to say I would take their baby in, and they kept looking over at us. For the record, Kevin and Karen were always looking down on me for not going to college, and at my husband, who only got his associate's degree. So to be honest, I never liked them much. I didn't have any desire to help them out at all. But then, in a bit of anger, Karen said,
"You didn't even go to college, so I bet you don't even have any expectations from anyone. And it would probably be easier for you to raise a kid with Down syndrome."
As if to hop on board with that, even Kevin said,
"That's true. You're also a full-time housewife, so you have the time. I'm sure you would be able to properly take care of a kid with Down syndrome. Plus, your kid is already grown up. You have plenty of hands to help, don't you?"
When he said that, my husband snapped, and he and his brother Karen screamed when her husband was hit. But as if to say it was obvious for him to get hit, everybody at the table just stared at them with cold eyes. With his twin brother on the ground, my husband hit him a number of times, saying,
"How dare you try to get my kid to look after a child when you can't even look after your own child! You two! You should be ashamed! You're both human trash, scumbags!"
His parents stepped in to stop him straight away, but in the end, David's parents said that they would look after the baby. But then Kevin said,
"If you guys aren't gonna take it, David, then maybe I'll take it to an orphanage."
We were all shocked. It was almost as if to say that we were in the wrong for not taking in their baby, and I was furious. For the record, both my mother-in-law and father-in-law were close to 70, and even if they were to take the child in for some time, it would be difficult for them to raise them, both age-wise and stamina-wise. Not even a few days later this time, Karen's parents came storming into our house. Apparently, her parents also felt the same way that they did, not wanting a grandchild with Down syndrome. As soon as they barged into the front door, they started saying the most ridiculous things to me, and I thought it was a joke. According to them, a child with Down syndrome is going to need heart surgery and specialized training at the childcare facility, and that their daughter was so busy with work that she wouldn't be able to do that, and that Karen herself said that she refuses to quit her job. But when it comes to me, I'm a full-time housewife, so I have plenty of time. On top of that, Karen had a younger brother who wasn't married yet, and they have talks of trying him with the daughter of a wealthy family. But if they found out that the child with Down syndrome in their bloodline, they might call off the wedding. However, because my husband and I both didn't have a higher education, that it shouldn't be a problem for us. Because they failed at throwing the child away for now, they were going to immediately remove the baby from the family tree and switch the baby into our family and make it as though it never existed in theirs. What they were saying was so outrageously selfish that I lost it like my husband. All of you need to stop messing around. Children are not objects. Don't you feel sorry that you're just doing whatever you want without even considering the child? Get out! And I kicked Karen's parents out of the doorway. It had been a long time since I had gotten this angry and raised my voice like that, so for a while I stood there in the doorway unable to move. After that, my husband came home from work, and when I told him what happened, he picked up the phone immediately and called his twin brother in a huge rage. And then he instructed for me and my daughter to go take refuge in my parents' house for a while. It's not that everybody around us was an enemy, but he said he didn't know what somebody might do. I didn't want to take any chances. I also recognized that this situation wasn't normal, so I decided to go with my husband's plan. Luckily, my parents lived just 3 stops away from our house, so my daughter wouldn't be troubled by it either. That's why we waited for her to come home from school, and the 2 of us would pack our bags. My husband was going to stay home, and we decided to run away to my parents' house for a short time. Then my husband had snapped, and after that, he went and stormed into both his brother's company and Karen's company and explained to them just how much trouble they were causing our family, and what horrible things Karen was trying to do with her own child. Apparently, he exposed everything. For the record, Kevin had graduated from a prestigious university, and he had a pretty impressive business record. I remember him saying that in the next evaluation there were rumors that he was going to be promoted, but all of this went right out the window. The same for his wife as well. Especially because Karen was also on maternity leave. When the company found out about the situation, they were appalled. My husband was smart, and he had taken a voice recording in the middle of the commotion. So when he played that recording to them, her colleagues were saying things like, "She's a human. There's no point in the maternity leave." And it caused a huge commotion in the company. That they got back to Karen, and it just caused chaos. Both Kevin and Karen tried to break into our house together. But knowing that this might happen, David had already called the police ahead of time, and even though they both came with farming tools as weapons, they were immediately taken away and arrested by the police. On top of that, apparently Karen's parents had also sent a threatening letter to my husband saying things like that they were going to curse him and kill him, and that he'll never be forgiven, and they were also arrested straight away. Because we also had a daughter, I thought I was really glad that we listened to him and escaped, because if they tried to take our daughter hostage, I don't know what my husband and I would have done to them. After that, because they had committed a crime as soon as they broke into the house, I heard that both Kevin and Karen were fired from their companies. Regardless of the situation, it's unbelievable as parents and as humans to try to erase their existence of a baby. They were both always bragging to us that they had higher education and higher paying jobs, but now I heard that they are living on the verge of homelessness. Even though they were trying to get rid of their child thinking that it would tarnish their lives, in the end they ruined their own lives, and I truly think that they're idiots for it. In the end, after we discussed it, my husband's parents ended up taking the baby in. And they said that they were also going to make sure Kevin took full responsibility for his actions. Neither of them have a career anymore anyway. Even though the child had such terrible parents, I really do hope that they find happiness after this.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.